The house is changing. It started out small, a couple extra steps to cross the room. Small enough that I thought it was my imagination. I've been distracted lately. All I can see is that dark eye looking back at me. It haunts me, just like its voice. Help me. It never stops now. I hear it everywhere. From the door, the walls, in my head. Echoing, driving me mad. Help me. I didn't notice that the rooms were changing until a new room appeared. I woke up after a restless nap and noticed a new doorway connected to the dining room. I tried to keep calm, but I felt my heart race. A way out. Freedom. I quickly made my way to the door. It looked like a regular wooden door, but I noticed that the handle was odd. It was made in such a way that everything was round. The knob, the plate it was fastened to, everything was rounded. Put together so that there were minimal angles to be seen. I opened the door and found myself in another room. I felt my heart sink as I realized I was still stuck inside. After taking a moment to accept that fact, I started to inspect the room. It was a large circular room. It seemed to be made of rough stone, and it had a tall round ceiling. It made me think I was standing in a ball. Everything was rounded. I looked and noticed there were no corners or angles anywhere in the room. On the walls were markings. Symbols I have never seen before. I cannot even begin to describe what they looked like. Just thinking of them now is giving me a headache. A dull ache behind my eyes. I had to leave that room quickly. The symbols and the architecture made me feel ill. It felt like everything was spinning, and I was worried that I was going to throw up. When I left the room is when I noticed just how big the dining room had become. What was once a somewhat cramped small room was now the size of what the whole house had been previously. It wasn't that big when I entered the circle room, was it? I checked the kitchen. It was smaller now. The oven and the fridge were pressed tightly together, and I barely had any room to open either of them. The bedroom was exactly the same as it had been. The basement door was still blocked by the bed that I pushed in front of it. Help me. I flinched hearing the creature. Whenever I was this close to it, its words seemed to dig into my brain by clawing through my ear. I winced while bringing my hand up to see if any blood had come out of my ear. There was none. There never was any blood, but it felt like there was. I quickly left the bedroom and noticed another door. This one was on the opposite wall of the door to the circle room. I made my way to it and reached for the handle, but I felt myself freeze before I could touch it. I couldn't move my body. I was terrified. Petrified of what could be on the other side of this door. Was it another door to the basement? I shuddered at the thought. Almost as if I was being controlled, I felt my hand move and slowly open this new door. I wanted to shut it before I could see inside, but it was too late. The door opened, and I found a set of stairs. Only these stairs went up, instead of down. I inspected this new stairway. It was dark, almost as dark as the basement steps. However, I could see that these stairs appeared to be newer than the ones to the basement. I turned on the flashlight on my phone and saw that it barely lit up the stairs. As I looked with my flashlight, I noticed more symbols on the wall and the stairs. These, like in the circle room, were indescribable. I hesitantly put my foot on the first step and began to climb the stairs. It was dark. Even the flashlight couldn't cut through the inky blackness that now surrounded me. I slowly made my way up. There were a lot of steps. I lost count after 70. Why were there so many stairs? Eventually, I made it to the top of the stairs. They led to a loft made out of old logs, almost like a log cabin. The darkness was not as intense as the steps, however I could still only see a couple feet in every direction, even with a flashlight. The loft was covered with the symbols. They all swirled together, connecting them. When I shined the flashlight, the symbols on the edge of the light seemed to swirl and move. A trick of the light, I hope. I walked further into the loft and almost bumped into a marble pedestal. It almost seemed to materialize in front of me. 1 second there was nothing, the next a pedestal that reached almost up to my chest was an inch away from me. On the pedestal was a very old book. The pages were mellowed with age and seemed to be made of something thicker than regular paper. The cover was pitch black with no clue of what it could be. I opened to the first page and it read, Mandate of Pharaonis Nigri. What is this book? I don't know what it means, or why it would be in this house. I've noticed that ever since I went upstairs, the whispers have stopped. For now at least.